Hey there, this is Dr. Evan Osar with the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. Welcome to this edition of Facebook Live. This is week number 5, part 1 of a 2-part series on the rotator cuff and common shoulder issues. Janice and I just finished up teaching our 3-day workshop, the Integrative Corrective Exercise Instructor Program. And on day 3, we cover the shoulder complex. So many of our clients, especially those older clients, baby boomers and seniors, will come to you and I for help with chronic shoulder issues. One of the most important concepts around the shoulder is how our clients are moving the range of motion around their shoulder, and can they actually access the proper range of motion to create proper control and stability, as well as achieve those movements they need for everyday life. Now, the shoulder is very personal to me because I developed shoulder problems early on when I first started weightlifting about 30 years ago. And even when I started in my chiropractic education over 20 years ago, a lot of the same strategies I was taught for my shoulders are the same things that are being taught today. And those are some of the same things that directly contributed to me developing rotator cuff tears, significant tears in both shoulders, and labral tears in both shoulders. Doing the things I was taught to do from day one rehab, from everything I read in books back in those days because there was no internet, as well as all the things I've read up to date. Most of the things I've read and seen and heard and been taught are the exact same strategies. And that's around squeezing the shoulder blades down and back to create more retraction and depression. And for some individuals, this strategy will work. However, this strategy directly contributed to the tears in my shoulders and perpetuated chronic neck problems as well as shoulder problems. And I see the same exact thing in clients and patients that present to our clinic here. So one of the first things we do, obviously, after we take in a history, is we always do a thorough assessment. Part of our assessment is actually looking at range of motion. Now, most of us have been taught that people need more external rotation of their shoulders, so hence more of those external rotators of the rotator cuff versus internal rotation, because we see the shoulder like this. However, the one thing I always ask in every class that we teach, whether that's our integrative corrective exercise class, whether that's the integrative movement specialist class, or just general sessions that we do across the country at different workshops, do you ever assess your client's range of motion? And how frequently do you assess their range of motion? And do your clients really have limitations in external rotation versus internal rotation? Because what we find 90% of the time is not limitations in external rotation. It's more limitations in internal rotation. So here's a very simple assessment you can do with your clients. Very simply, just have them stand and bring their arms to 90-90 position. So 90-90 here. And then very simply, see how well they can externally rotate. So you should get about 90 degrees, and again, this is relevant to or related to each individual. And then also check internal, because internal you should get about 70 degrees of internal. Again, that's relevant to the individual, not more of a norm and not specific to every individual. But again, you should have about a total of somewhere around 160 degrees of total range. Now, what you're going to see is many of our clients will struggle with external rotation, but that's not an external rotation limitations all the time. That's actually an elevation issue, because many of our clients that have shoulder issues are squeezing down and back so much that they can't even get their arm up into this position and then ultimately get external rotation. But here's a challenge. Most of our clients don't do a good job getting internal rotation, because what they do to get internal is they actually throw their shoulder forward. And that's what we believe and what we see to be the most common cause of the forward shoulder. Not the limitations in external rotation, is that in order to get the arm forward for internal rotation, which is everyday life, everything we do out here, computers, cell phones, working at a counter, lifting, it's all internal rotation. We need internal rotation to get our arms out here and function in everyday life. If you don't have internal rotation, you will throw your shoulder forward in order to get your shoulder in the right position. So one of the first things we do after we assess, does a client have internal rotation? If not, start to release underneath the arm. One of the most specific or significant muscles that starts to pull the shoulder blades down and really starts to compress the shoulder complex down on the rib cage is the lats. And then early on, as I said, one of the most important things, or one of the biggest strategies people were teaching me, is retract and squeeze the shoulder blades down. Well, your lat will squeeze and compress and depress that shoulder blade very hard upon the rib cage, and then limit overhead motion, also limit rotation of the shoulder. So once you do your release underneath the arm, then you want to do some kind of lengthening exercise. And we just don't have the clients just stretch, because we found that to be ineffective. If you find that effective, continue to use what's effective for you. So once we release underneath the arm, we'll have our clients do the supported hip hinge pattern. And here's how it looks. Client aligns, faces the wall, aligns their head and neck over top of the rib cage, hands on the wall, about shoulder height, about shoulder width apart. They feel as if they're pulling the wall gently apart between their hands. They're gonna breathe in here, breathe out, sit back into hip hinge position. Here, they're focusing on lengthening the arm, not shrugging, not rounding, lengthening, and gently pushing the wall away from them. So they're pushing that way into the wall, they're keeping themselves connected through here, and then lengthening through their tailbone that direction. So it's a supported hip hinge. They breathe in to come up, breathe out, hinging forward. Breathing in to come up, breathing out, to hinge forward. So that way we can create the proper length here, because that will oftentimes, after we release here, lengthen here, that will restore a lot of range of motion, because it'll lengthen the lats, it'll release the lats, and allow the client to actually get up into this position and actually get taller, longer through their spine and rib cage. So very simple strategy, very effective strategy to help my own shoulders, and that helps a lot of the shoulders of our clients and patients here in our clinic. Now, on Thursday, I'll come back with part 2 of this series and show you how to integrate this concept and determine whether or not you need to teach your clients actually how to do external rotation, internal rotation work for the rotator cuff, and show you how to integrate this into a functional movement pattern. This is Dr. Evan Osar with the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. Make it a great day. We'll see you later this week. Take care.